Does Kamala Harris need to turn and face Trump and talk to the country and talk about the fear directly and the stakes in a way that's more vivid than she's done it so far?
My biased view is that I would like to see her do that, but I always try to consider someone who doesn't work in this field, but is, working in Michigan and dealing with a student loan and making sure they pick up their kids, but also being on time to work. And is the economic message really the single and sole message here that is going to be the most motivating? Or will, because where I hesitate, Steve, is that if you watch your average Harris rally right now and your average Trump rally, there's a positive vision coming from Harris and a dark apocalyptic vision coming from Trump. Now, you can say it's kind of standard when Harris is, in a sense, the incumbent. She wants to argue things are good and will continue being good. It's natural that she would have a positive vision. Whereas on the other hand, Trump is trying to argue things are so bad, you need to elect me. But I think it goes beyond that. I think that there's actually more to it. And I've said when I watch these competing rallies, sometimes back to back, it doesn't seem to me that the apocalyptic dark vision from Trump with the lurid stories, and he had a 30-second rant about Wisconsin over the weekend that sounds like he's describing. I don't know what he's describing. I don't want to ascribe it to any particular country, but certainly not Milwaukee, right? When you listen to it, you go, that doesn't sound like Milwaukee to me. Because I question whether Trump doing it helps him convert anybody. I just don't know if Harris is better off sticking with the economic message rather than the here's what you really should be afraid of message, other than when it comes to women's bodily autonomy and reproductive rights, which does seem to have been really effective at telling people what the stakes are.
Do you have a sense with the women in your lives, with the women in your life and the women around you about their motivation to go and vote and their reaction to Trump saying, the women are never going to be happier. This is it's going to be beautiful, right? The states have it. Don't worry about it, right? There's going to be in all the Trumpian bombast around this issue because people. I honestly don't know what to say. I don't conceivably know what I could say to a woman in America to urge them to, participate and vote and stand up, that adds any weight beyond the weight of the evidence around what's happening in the country, which is shocking to behold, at many levels. But fired up, are they worried? Are they scared? Or more women for Trump than you are surprised about? What's anecdotally?
Anecdotally, I am maybe the wrong guy to ask because I know mostly women in blue states who are on the left. And so there's two elements to that are important. One is they weren't voting for Trump anyway, even before all of this craziness with IVF. And he's very big on fertilization and all of this stuff that, that makes no sense. So they weren't voting for him anyway. But also, most of the women I'm talking to have a confidence. We can discuss whether it's appropriate or not, that because they live in blue states, I talk to my friends in New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts, and they go, this stuff is nuts, but I'm so confident that we're going to be fine in this state. I feel bad for the women in fill in the blanks, right? And so I think that the people I'm speaking to directly are kind of in that camp, which is privileged in the sense of the stakes feel lower on a lot of these issues in the states that have an HDI equivalent to Norway, right? Like Connecticut and Massachusetts, it's a different situation than it is in Mississippi, for example. Now, one other thing, I saw the Good Liars who do these interviews at Trump rallies. They're really good. They interviewed a woman recently who said it was what about such and such, who said they're not even sure women should have the right to vote. At this point, I don't even remember who said it, but recently somebody in Trump's orbit suggested, I don't even know that it's that good that women vote. The woman said, if the country's taken care of, I don't care if I have the right to vote. And it was this incredible moment where that's hook, line, and sinker. These are the saviors, and my role, whether I vote or I don't vote, they're going to tell me what my role is. And it's not for me to evaluate this is good or bad or scary or whatever the case may be. And that's so different from everybody I talk to personally, that what influences the people I know personally and what would impact that woman who said, take away my right to vote, as long as we've got Trump instead of Harris, we're going to be okay. It's hard to imagine the same campaign motivating all of those voters because their priorities seem so different.
Perfectly said. It is a wild time. And I think it goes without saying that 10 years into this, and it's 10 years, three election cycles, it feels like it's coming to its end, to me. And it feels like that we're going to be closing the door on a generation of political leaders, many of whom are still around in their 80s, but we're going to see a lot of change in the immediate future. And we're at a moment where I think that the country is either going to pick more of craziness at an epic level or make ready for generational change. And if past is prologue, we're going to have generational change. We're going to take the exit off of this.
Yeah, and there seems to be an accelerationism that I've spoken over the last however many years on my show how I'm not an accelerationist leftist who believes that we need to dismantle the system to rebuild it better off. As a social democrat, which is a form of regulated capitalism, I don't want to dismantle because I know how many people get hurt in the dismantling. I just want to keep making improvements in the way that sort of Ted Kennedy said, let's keep making improvements in the right direction rather than the wrong. I think what a slice of those that are part of MAGA right now are starting to lean towards is the accelerationism. It's if, they stole it from us in 2020, if they do it again, the threshold of what I'm willing to personally do changes. My hope is that the air will be let out of it, especially if Republican officials in the aftermath of a Trump loss say, we're moving on. I'm not jumping on the it was stolen bandwagon this time. So I hope it will be tempered by that. But anecdotally, I do see, including the people that my correspondents talk to at rallies, sort of a willingness to adopt some of that accelerationism by the right about if they're going to steal it from them twice, we're now willing to do a lot more.
It's also being said in the fervor of the rally with the
Yes.
contagion of the crowd when everyone's home staring at their phones, right? And it's cold outside. We'll see we'll see where the fervor goes if the fever breaks. And until then, I think we're going to have a very, very dramatic month in American politics, which is going to have a lot of twists and turns and wild days ahead in a race that, though she is winning, is not yet over. It is not yet settled. And it is not impossible for him to win. It's not even improbable for him to be able to win the election. But again, I think it will break in her direction in the next couple of weeks as the American people make their final decision. And I think cancel a show that has gotten pretty boring.
The show has jumped the shark, I think we can say.
I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.